Hey everyone, welcome back to another discussion. Today, Michael and I are going to be discussing Voltron Season 2. It's been almost 2 months since the release of Season 2. It
Wow.
was released, I know, in January, on January 20th. But we never got the chance to talk about it. I do have theories in the works for it. I just been putting them off quite a bit.
Same.
Right? Um, but there's a ton to talk about just besides theory-wise, just the show in general. So we decided we would do a general review of the whole season to tell you what we liked, what we didn't like, and other things about that we found interesting throughout this season. So first off, some very exciting news for Voltron. We are getting season 3 in September. This was confirmed at Toy Fair in January, I believe, or recently, Toy Fair 2017 in New York. And we're also getting 78 episodes at least, which is 6 seasons if they're 13 episodes each. So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. Like, I'm surprised because I don't see a lot of people talking about Voltron, yet it's already getting picked up all the way to season 6, which is nuts.
A
So
lot
I'm
of
curious as to what the view count is for the show. Then,
It's pretty good. I think it's up there. Um, it was. I think it was one of the highest before Stranger Things came out.
oh wow,
Yeah, yeah. So for a Netflix original. So yeah, you'll have to fact check that for me, but
yeah,
yeah, because don't take that for the truth exactly. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think it does. It's doing pretty good. Just not so many older fans maybe are doing theory wise. I know there's a big fan base from because it was an '80s show at first, so in the '80s. Now this is the reboot, so I know it has a lot of older fans of that like the original. But then for new fans, it might just be mostly younger kids. I don't. 'Cause
I mean it's a mature enough show. Like
It is.
it's been in the vein of Avatar.
Yeah.
To where it's not super bloody or gory or anything, but it's mature in its themes and delivery and writing.
Yeah. I mean, I know there are a lot of people our age fans too, so that's good to see. Just hopefully, I mean, it's getting 6 seasons, so we'll probably pick up more people will get interested pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's gonna. If you watch the Toy Fair video, it's getting 4 waves of toys this year, which is pretty nuts.
Yeah, that's
Like,
probably a big factor too, because Voltron's a very toy heavy franchise. It always has been since the original. So they're probably looking at those dollar signs for the toys because that's where the money is.
yeah, and it's good that it's a very good quality show.
Yeah, they didn't just throw it together to sell action figures.
Okay, so let's begin here. So we're gonna talk about what we liked first. Anything stand out really to you, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I liked most of it. Really, there's not
Yeah.
really that much I didn't like. I really liked that there was some more one-on-one, hand-to-hand combats. That's kind of my jam. Especially that. Well, first off, this is the big episode everyone loved, which was the mall
Space
episode.
Mall.
Yeah, Space Mall. Everyone's been raving about the episode, and that's it was legit the best episode I think of the series so far.
Right?
Which is very surprising because it seems just like this little side episode, fun thing, and it is, but it's an interesting contrast of most of the characters having a goofy time at the mall, and the I don't know, the writing there was just so funny and so great.
Yeah.
And then you had the contrast of Shiro trying
Yeah.
to connect with the Black Lion. It was super serious, and that action sequence with Shiro versus Sarkhan was so dope. It was Dragon Ball Z level of fighting, and I loved it. That was just a great balance of really good comedy and really good action and drama in the same episode.
Yeah, they
And
pulled it off so well.
yeah, it was really, really great. That was definitely the best episode. I like that we got a little more adding on to the Keith thing.
A little bit. I mean,
Well, we still don't have
This
answers,
was the
though.
season of Keith and Shiro.
True. We still don't have answers, though. We just know that
Yeah,
he
it's
is part
kinda-
Bolra. That is confirmed.
I mean, yeah, the theory I made, the first theory for
Yeah.
Voltron I made was confirmed, so that's very exciting. Keith is confirmed to be, has Galra blood. We don't know how much. But that's amazing, and that was the episode right after Spaceball. So I'd call those the best 2 episodes.
Yeah, yeah.
The whole series so far. So yeah.
Yeah, and the whole episode, the whole season was great. But those episodes really stood out specifically. And the finale was just really well done. You were just because because like I went in there knowing that there's going to be 6 seasons, so I was like, how's this going to work? Are they going to beat Zarkon? What do they beat Zarkon? What's going to happen after that?
Yeah.
I didn't have any information on the original Voltron, so I didn't know there was a Lotor and stuff like that. But yeah, just everything was really well executed. For the most part, like a lot of people, pretty much every character, well, most of the characters got some type of development.
I was gonna talk about that in the bad part.
Okay, well, I like to hear your point for sure. Like Hunk didn't get much, but I think Pidge got a little bit, not too much, but like a taste. And the thing is, like, there's gonna be 6 seasons, so they're pacing themselves. So they're like, I'm sure they're planning things correctly. I'm sure we'll get more Hunk in the later seasons and stuff like that. More Lance for sure. There was a lack of Lance.
You noticed that?
Yeah. I almost forgot he was a thing.
Oh my gosh.
But we got a little bit of Lance. Ironically enough, the 2 characters I feel got the least development had their own episode together, which was good. But yeah, everything, all the episodes were really well done. I didn't really have any episodes where I was like, this season definitely got me. It made me a Voltron believer.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I've been a believer for a while. But
yeah, because the first season, like, I liked it. It wasn't a bad season by any stretch, but it didn't hook me in yet. Really, it, like, semi hooked me in. But this season got me like right off the jump, and I'm really excited to see what else happens.
Yeah. So speaking of future things, I did know about Lotor, and like a lot of people were kind of expecting him to show up eventually, but just like the last minute or so of this season, like bring in Prince Lotor, it's just I start screaming. Yeah, I like there's so much we don't know exactly what's gonna be up with him, but apparently because like in the end Zarkon was knocked out kind of, or I don't know if he's gonna be able to do anything.
I think he's dead.
You think? I mean, he was getting healed, so he might not be the same.
Oh, was he getting healed?
Yeah, he wasn't dead.
I don't know, he seemed dead, but we'll see. I hope he's dead. That'd be kind of lame if he came back. Right? Unless there's like some type of development there for him there. Like, I don't know. Oh. Yeah.
But they were with Lotor, we learned that apparently there's going to be other people fighting for the throne or to be emperor along with Lotor. So I'm really excited to see how what happens with Lotor and like how they're going to portray him and stuff, because in the 80s series Voltron Defender of the Universe, he had a thing for Allura. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out.
Interesting.
Yeah. You should probably like look up how he was, because it was interesting. Oh, and he was also like half Altean or something. He wasn't full Gowron, so that's interesting. So I wonder if he'll be like half Altean in this series too.
That'd be interesting, but I feel like they might be going that route with Hagar potentially already. I
mean, she's like full Altean, I think.
Oh, she's full Altean. Okay, yeah, that'd be interesting.
From what we know. Yeah, but yeah, it was also revealed that she was Altean. When you look at it, we didn't learn like too many big chunks of detail, but right. We did learn like that Keith is part Gowron. Hagar is Altean. Allura can use magic, and a couple of other smaller things.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the show is like I wish we could do more theories, but they only give you little pieces, and this show doesn't have like a lot of details in the background and stuff like that, like Steven Universe or Star does. So it's hard to like come up with stuff, especially since they give you a whole chunk of episodes, and then you have to kind of simmer on it and think about what you could do. But yeah, I forget what I was about to say.
Well, one theory is that I'm going to be talking about is like what happened with Shiro. Where did he go? And so I'm not going to spoil what I think or what I'm going to say, but an interesting tidbit that I was really funny that I saw online. The last episode is called Blackout, and Shiro disappears that episode. So
Hey, puns.
I know, it's so sad. But yeah, I love so much about this. Yeah, and I mean, and it's funny because I was kind of predicting that something would happen to Shiro this season. That was my other theory.
Yeah.
I only made 2 theories before season 2.
I thought he would die though.
Yeah, well, I said he wouldn't. I said he would be out of action for a while.
Right.
Like that was I asked, would he die? And I was like, it looks like he probably won't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he did in the Japanese 80s version, but that was not for kids, people.
Yeah, I think he might eventually down the line.
No.
I think one of the paladins are gonna die, by the end of the series, at least.
Oh man,
because it seems like a show that might do that.
That's very rare for like
it is
of like a kids cartoon. I don't if ever. I mean,
yeah, but it's relatively dark though, so it's like I don't know. I feel like they could go there, and it would work.
That'd be interesting. That'd be really sad, but interesting.
I also think now that you mentioned like that there's going to be multiple like people fighting for Zarkon's throne, I think by the end what might happen is Keith might actually get the throne since he's part Galrin, and like kind of change the entire Galrin empire into something more peaceful and nice.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so is there anything else? I mean, I'm pretty sure I can talk about like stuff for hours, like how I loved how Voltron got their big sword, like a lot of the characters got new weapons and stuff, Lance, Pidge, a couple of them got weapons, and then they got the huge sword, and that was pretty amazing. Still no word, I mean, we barely learned anything about Matt, but you know, it's like Pidge's brother.
Yeah, that wasn't really present this season for the most part.
But at least we're getting 6 seasons. You know, it's not like, okay.
Yeah, they can't give us everything at once. Like, we were dealing with Keith's stuff. We were dealing with Shiro's Black Lion stuff. We were dealing with the overall Galrin thing and the Sword of Mamora they met with. And there was just, like, a lot happening. So there wasn't too much time to focus on Katie's family, her fam. But they threw it in a little, like, I think, like, once or twice, you know, kind of like, hey audience, remember this is a thing, just
right?
Remember. So which was actually very well done. So I have to appreciate that pacing because they knew they didn't have time to kind of shove Pidge's arc in, so they just kind of did a little thing that was, you know, it was like, okay, while this is happening, I'm gonna look for my family, and then bam. So yeah, that was very well done, I think.
Yeah. Overall, I really enjoyed this season, but I mean, of course, there were a couple things that, you know, I was like, oh, what the, or like, I've seen a lot of people discuss and, you know, have arguments about. So was there anything that stood out to you first?
That I didn't like?
You didn't.
The main thing was Laura was pissing me off.
Ooh, with her.
Yeah. I was just like, Laura, come on, just relax, man.
I mean,
I get it.
That killed her.
Yeah, I get it, but like, it's Keith though. Like he's still Keith. Like I got it for a while, but like I'm glad by the end.
Yeah.
That, you know, she came around and it was all good. But she was annoying there for a few episodes.
Yeah, and another thing is that a lot of people are actually not really happy, like, with how the relationship between the two is going, like what there might be hinting towards, which is, you know, in the 80s, I don't know if you know, but in the 80s series, they were a couple. So people are not happy about that because just how they what do you don't think that's gonna happen?
I mean, I didn't get that vibe. A
lot of people either, but if you look really close, if you look like closely at like some of like the interactions in the later half of the season, it's like, oh, maybe.
I don't know. I kind of see what they're saying, but I didn't really get that from that. And also, like, I feel like Alora's like, obviously she's extremely old, but like in her, she's technically like what, like 30 or something like that. And Keith is like
10,000.
No, I mean like her actual age, because she was like
we don't know
in a coma. She's in a coma. Years old. Okay, she was like in a comatose state. So she was like preserved. So not really counting all those years that passed. It's like how Aang was frozen for 100 years, but he was still 12.
Yeah.
So I don't know how old Laura is, but like Keith is like, do we know how old Keith is exactly?
No, probably 17.
So that's like, it's a little, I don't know the space laws or anything, but
yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think that's, because I think Laura was younger in the 80s series. At least she seemed younger. I just did something really dumb, by the way. I just like to point out, I just typed in Keith in Google as if I was gonna get answers. Just Keith.
Maybe one day. Like, yeah. Yeah. If you type in like some gem names now, you'll get senior stuff. Yeah. So maybe one day.
Keith is just Keith.
Yeah, Keith is that's a little more. There's a lot of other Keiths.
Yeah. But no, I didn't get that vibe, really.
Okay,
it says age late teen, so I could see like 18, 19, I guess.
a lot of that's also a big point of discussion, ages and stuff. We learned that Hunk he just turned 17 in January. So Keith is probably around the same age. He could be a little bit older. I mean, I'm assuming they were all in the same year, Hunk, Keith, and Lance. So they probably all might be 17. But then he could be turning 18.
Yeah, he could be 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something else, a big point of, that a lot of people are not happy about was the lack of character development for a good chunk of the characters this season, like Lance and Hunk. There was an overload of learning about Keith. I mean, or at least him developing as, because they're building him up to be the leader of Voltron, which I'll talk about in a second. But Lance and Hunk barely got any real development this season, which is a lot of people especially love how Lance is and his homesick, they don't like it. They're just really fixated on that, and he got a little bit of him being all sad and stuff. But not too much. I guess they wanted more.
Yeah, you got something. I mean, I get that, but I feel like it's just all pacing. They'll get more time eventually. For now, for the most part, they serve the purpose of comedic relief, and that is their general role.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they will get more down the line. Like I said, there's 4 more seasons left, guys. Give the writers time to space things out, because you don't want everything shoved in your face at once. There's a lot of characters. There's a lot of story happening. There's a lot of lore happening. There's tons of stuff happening. They can't do everything in one season.
Yeah. I mean, this announcement is pretty recent. So I haven't looked too much lately, but yeah, I mean, it was definitely a worry, how many seasons are we getting and stuff? But yeah,
right.
Now you don't need to worry, guys.
Yeah, they'll get their time.
Will do their thing.
Yeah, they clearly know what they're doing, so I'll not even worry about that.
So speaking of development this season, what are your thoughts on Keith becoming leader? Because a lot of people also don't like that. They think Shiro is the only one for the job, or Allura, if that. If not, because Shiro's gone, so somebody has to step up. What do you think?
I think what's going to happen is, now that Shiro's gone, they're probably going to give us a little taste of Keith being a leader, and people are going to dig it. And then, and then Shiro's going to die later, and then Keith's going to be the main leader. Yeah, I don't know, or maybe this is just what they're alluding to, because they're building that up a lot this season about Keith taking control of the Black Lion or whatever and being the leader of Voltron. So I think what might be happening, they may just be kind of alluding to Shiro going missing for this amount of time, and now Keith's got to be leader for a specific amount of time, and then Shiro will come back later or something like that.
Do you think that Keith is ready to be a leader? Because I feel like there's going to be a lot of arguments between the group, or it's just not going to be the same as with Shiro.
Right.
And Keith just, I don't know.
That's probably going to be the point.
Yeah.
And they'll probably be facing a lot of new threats, and they're going to be kind of torn apart from the inside, which is going to create an interesting dynamic about, how they're going to face the new conflict. So I think that's kind of the general gist of where they're going, because I'm sure Lance definitely will have something to say about Keith being leader. Yeah.
He always does.
And then this would be interesting, which would probably piss a lot of people off, if Allura and Keith do become a thing, which I don't think is going to happen. But if it does happen, Allura kind of defending Keith and backing Keith up when maybe the rest of the crew is not really feeling Keith's leadership. I don't know.
Just a thought. Anything else that that maybe you just didn't think you had questions about, or you're just I don't know if I like this?
Not really, honestly. I liked pretty much all of it. I'd like to just generally for the series get more of an idea. I don't know if Zarkon's dead or not, but if he does come back, I'd like to get more of his more than just I'm a villain and want power. I'd like a little more development for them.
I totally thought, looking at the first few episodes, it's coming any day now. The backstory for any character, we didn't get that at all. We only got a little bit for Keith, it was just it wasn't even we saw his dad, which I didn't mention. We meet Keith's dad, though it's in his brain or it's in his mind.
Yeah.
But that brings up more theories. Anyways, we see that, but it's not really a flashback or anything. So I'm really waiting for those flashbacks, like to that, like any time of his life, or any of the characters. Pretty much, we got a little bit with Zarkon, but yeah. But then like in the second I think it was the second episode. No, it was in the first. I was like, Keith was like, "Oh, if it wasn't for you, Shiro, like things would be so different," or something like that. And we didn't. I was like, okay, what do they mean? And then we never really like, what was their relationship in the garrison? Like, was Shiro a teacher, Keith a student, something like that? I really want to know about that, and we didn't get that at all this season. Or we didn't learn about like Lance, Hunk, Pidge, them in the garrison, which I would also like to see, or any of the families, I guess.
Yeah.
At all.
Again, we'll be getting it eventually. I think they're more so dealing with the external conflicts at hand. They didn't really have a lot of time to go into flashbacks and stuff like that. There wasn't really a good moment for that for the most part. So that's pretty much why they didn't do that. I just want more dynamics for the villain. Hopefully Lotor will be interesting, because Zarkon's just kind of cookie cutter, even though he is like sick. He's just kind of like, I'm a bad guy, meh. Whereas like, I don't know, I like villains that are a little more fleshed out if they can be.
I mean, yeah, I think
it depends on the narrative, really. Because like Samurai Jack, I haven't finished it yet. I'm almost done. But Samurai Jack, like Aku, he's just a demon, and he's a trolly villain, and he likes doing bad things just because he's a demon, and it works for that story. Whereas I feel like Voltron is a more fleshed out story, and I feel like it seems mildly cheapened by Zarkon just being generic.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there are some like interesting things about him.
Yeah.
That we saw in this season, about his like homeworld, what happened to it. Maybe it got it's gone or something, and then his relationship with the Black Lion. Exactly what's up with that? I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, still for the most part, like he's still not, too interesting, I'd say.
Yeah, he's just bad for being the sake of being bad.
Yeah, it almost seems like that.
Yeah.
So anything else that you want to talk about?
No, not really. It's a really great season. If I don't know why you're watching this whole video, this happens live. But definitely watch Voltron. It's really good. This season definitely made me really excited for this series. I wasn't super excited after the first season, but now I'm like really hyped about what's gonna happen. I love the characters are great. The world is great. The action it is so refreshing. The action is just like I needed that action, especially since it's animated by Studio Mir. So like they can definitely do action sequences very well. We need more shows like this, and yeah, it's really really great. Very minor problems here and there, but nothing really that stood out to me enough to make me not like the season.
Yeah, same. So yeah, we'll be getting the next season in September, which is a little bit of a wait, but we'll get through this.
We got enough to hold us over.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'll be making theories for it. Maybe Michael too, depending on.
Yeah, I got one in mind as of right now.
Nice.
So.
I got a couple.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I'll see you in the Voltron theories, and stay tuned for more discussions.
See you guys.